I said I am learning that busy is not a badge of honor.
Let's welcome in that vortex.
Yes. Look who we have. Keanna O'Quinn. Listen, everybody, this woman is the most extraordinary singer. She is like the creative mind behind an incredible company called Sonic Sommelier. Listen, y'all, this is not just a company. It is an experience that elevates events through meticulously crafted soundscapes. They may not be why you enter a room, but they will be definitely the reason why you'll want to stay. With a portfolio that includes iconic personalities and prestigious companies, Keanna and her team have created unforgettable soundtracks for every occasion, transforming events into memorable narratives. Everybody, please grab a pen, grab a pad, and be inspired by her journey. You just watch this episode.
Busy is not a badge of honor. And we wear it, especially as women, we wear it as if it is something to be so proud of. And I think a lot of it comes from feeling chosen. You know, we get so much of our worth from feeling chosen, especially as entrepreneurs. When you take on a new client, when you book a new role, when you know, get to photograph this notable person, we feel chosen. And when we're like validating our worth based on being chosen, then, you know, it's like, look at me. Aren't I
And
great?
also, I did not choose myself, and therefore I'm crumbling on the inside, and therefore I'm exhausted, and therefore I cannot pour anything else into anyone else because I'm empty. And that's what we're saying yes to all the
Also,
time.
and that, I feel like the more you run, the more you never have to sit still to what is, like what's really going on in the inside, what really needs to be filled, what's actually being
Mm,
abandoned. And so, which means, we've fallen into the trap that man has been in for a long time,
Yes.
yes,
which
yes.
is just let's stay on this hamster wheel. I feel like in some ways, maybe that's what this time is for, to make us understand why men turned out this way and be like, let's hold back the reins. Because the 80s, women tried to look like men in the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
tried to keep
Yeah.
that femininity. Then it was like, okay, we'll keep the femininity, but I'm gonna work hard and pretend like I don't have this whole other part of me that needs to be taken care of. And now
Yeah.
we're in this other
Mm.
generation of, napping and self-care is not a luxury, it's a priority. My husband sent me this thing yesterday about a study that says if you just sleep, if you take at least one nap a week, you're keeping heart attacks away by like 30%. Like
Wow.
one
Wow.
nap. And you think about all the cultures that have like siestas, right? Is that what you call it? We
Yes.
Yes.
say, but in our culture, like you lucky to get a 30-minute lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
And when my husband sent this to me, I said to him, can I just tell you my truth, which is, I've always been a napper, but I've always been shamed about napping because that must mean I'm lazy. And,
Yeah.
our skin, our spirit cannot handle the word lazy because
Yes.
of what oppression has done. But I said to him, just before I'm able to get a nap, I'm like shaking from exhaustion. My chest hurts. And what do I have now? I have
Hmm.
hypertension. I have high blood pressure. Based off of what? Me trying to stay up on this Ferris wheel, this
Mm-hmm.
monkey wheel of whatever, and it's actually hurting my health and everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Facts.
Yeah.
I'm right
And
busy.
if we were to go deeper into that whole lazy term, you
Yes.
know, AI, I
Okay.
believe, has been born of people wanting convenience, of people wanting to spend their time more mindfully. Any
Oh, wow.
innovation was
Yes.
created so that we could be doing something else or resting or not being worried about it. And we don't call that lazy. We call that innovation. We
We
call
And
call
it,
it efficiency.
efficiency. Yes. Preach
yes, yes.
today. Okay.
We are,
Wow.
what's the word? Not restructuring. We want
Reimagine.
to
Reimagining.
reimagine that word and all of these labels that we've placed on things that make us human and make us better humans and help us to connect better with ourselves and with each other. And that's
Yes,
really
that's
what the
the
human
whole point.
experience is about.
That's right.
Yes,
That's the whole point.
that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Mm,
Yeah,
So,
I think all the opportunities, some of the biggest opportunities will be about how to like reintroduce ourselves to humanity, like what it
Mhm.
is to just be a spirit human, and like all the different ways that a human is being out here. Because like even the idea that like women and that our system is so sophisticated, it's not broken, it's sophisticated, so we have to live it a different way than maybe the male body
We have
has to,
to show them. We have
and
to show them.
embrace it instead of trying to like cover it up,
Hmm.
all of these things. And so it makes sense to me then to go straight into, it's so funny, we love saying reimagining. You know, a lot of creatricity is about trying to reimagine
Mm.
how we collaborate, reimagine this industry. You know, I like to say, you know, when you're at the bottom of something, that's why you compete. If you're at the top, you have to collaborate. Like the highest form is collaboration, the
Yeah.
lowest form is competition.
Yes.
Hmm.
I love that you have reimagined what it means to bring music and an atmosphere into the world. Can you talk about your company and how you have really begun to reimagine the entertainment system through what you do for a living?
Absolutely. Well, before I talk about my company, I have to talk about my baby. My first baby was
Yes.
Honey and Vinyl, and
Yeah.
I have worked for many years in the events industry. I knew that, you know, as a kid, I didn't really. I watched a lot of behind the music,
Hmm.
and it became apparently clear that going the traditional route of the music industry was not necessarily my cup of tea. And so I found a roundabout way to do what I love, and that's in private events, luxury private events around the world. And so I started as a vocalist. I conceptualized a band called Honey and Vinyl, and we've just traveled the world performing at high end luxury events for people I would not have otherwise met or even sometimes knew existed. And it has been a joy. And doing that work, I began to take stock of the fact that I was approaching music very differently than some of my peers, and that was to be really intentional and really mindful about all of what people may consider to be the little things, volume, how the sound is EQ'd in a space,
Hmm.
when a song is played, what food is being served. And so as I started to question all of these things, good old Google helped me to do a ton of research and find that there were, Ivy League studies that have been done on these things for decades. And Vegas has been using, these strategies for decades. You sit at a casino machine. What do you call those? Slot machines. You can tell I don't gamble. And they use sound to influence how long you sit there and how much money you spend. Retail stores, films do the exact same thing. There's a film score that helps to support the story that's being told and helps to evoke a certain emotion. And I said, well, wait a minute. If this is happening in all of these spaces where the story or the experience is so important, why isn't this happening in events where people are spending so much money? It's such a memorable, a lot of the time, once in a lifetime moment. And yeah, why am I not seeing this being done in a more mindful manner? And I said, how do I want to bring this to the world? It has to have a really good name, because what I'm doing is I'm complementing all of the things that are taking place to make this story come together. I'm a supporting character in this production because every event is a production.
Hmm.
I said, well, it's a pairing. Who pairs with wine sommeliers? They pair wine with cuisine. And I said, well,
Yeah.
that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be pairing music with these experiences. I am a Sonic Sommelier. And the next thing I knew, it took on a life of its own, because when you
Yeah.
name something, it is officially born. And
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's what I do. I'm a Sonic Sommelier.
Tell me this, when you said that, you know, you felt like you were experiencing things different, like, and things were standing out to you that did, how did you know to follow that feeling of different and embrace it as something to expand on and make better versus thinking, well, maybe I'm broken and it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just found this out last week too.
Okay.
I am a lifelong learner, and I'm
Yes.
constantly exploring, my experience as a human, myself, and I'm getting epiphanies day in, day out, child. Look, God is working with me. That said, I just realized last week that I'm a confident person. I had no idea. I really genuinely did not. And when I say confident, what I mean is I can feel afraid and intimidated by something and still lean in, still jump, still be courageous enough to just go for it. I never equated that with confidence. I just thought, though, that's what everybody does. If I'm scared, that doesn't mean to stop. That means, let's look at that a little bit more and see how far we can go into the whale's mouth, if you will. And so I cannot, this isn't something to brag about, but I'm very sensitive. And I'm just learning as well that I have a bit of synesthesia. So when it comes to tasting foods, I'm a super taster. So bitter foods really have an impact on me. Salty, sweet, like I have a somewhat of a different experience than the average person. I can smell things from afar and identify the notes of a wine or sound. I'm super sensitive to sound. So if something is too loud, it can change my entire mood. And quite frankly, we're all like that.
That's right.
We just don't necessarily tap in to
say the levels of that.
Exactly. So because I'm always asking myself these questions and looking to learn more about myself and more about other people, I was just like, okay, this is how I feel. This is how I'm doing it differently. Let me just continue to lean into that. And that's what I've done.
It's funny. You took your fear as an opportunity to be curious.
Yes, I was going to say.
That sensitivity, that it's almost like, well, if nobody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it. This room is too loud. This doesn't make sense to me. So what do I need to do to put myself in a position to be able to, solve this problem of noise?
It's so funny too, because I always find, and me and Stephanie talk about this all the time, the quality of an event has a lot to do with the quality of the sound. And
1,000%.
You can tell what type of event you're in, depending on like, is it clear? Like,
how you feel when you walk in? What's going on when you first arrive? Like, can you hear the people speaking?
Oh my gosh.
Is there feedback on the mic?
Did they get a microphone for the space?
Is the sound engineer capable? Come on.
Where are the speakers placed in?
Come on, ladies.
Yes.
Because we put on events.
This is what we do. Yes.
And it's such a, and when we go to other people's events, it can make you not, music, sound in general tells a story all in its own. So whether there's clarity or not clarity, that's true about your message. It's almost like you can't have a brand of any kind if the sound is not correct. And, my husband is a sound designer. And, it's so funny. I listen to things so differently, but it's so funny. Until something is distinguished to you, you ignore it. You don't know what it is. So like, until you know what colors are, you're just like, these are like bright things I'm looking at. Until someone says, this is yellow, but this is amber, but this is peach. Like, until you start to distinguish all the colors, then you can be so specific about what you want to create. And I think in sound, all people ever think about is on or off. And it's like, there's a whole world that exists.
Yes, absolutely. It's just like a photograph. You ladies, I'm sure, have used Instagram or a fancy camera where you can, change the levels of increase the clarity, or change the temperature, or change the hue, whether you want more greens to stand out than reds. Sound is very much the same way.
Yeah. We also talk about, I was going to say, we talk about frequency and how when you get on the same frequency in terms of collaborative events and collaborative spaces, if the frequency is at a level when you walk in, it literally opens the door for those sparks to happen and for that to fly.
Absolutely. It can change your enjoyment of an experience on several levels. When it comes to food,
Yes.
higher pitch frequencies can enhance your perception of how sweet something tastes. So, when we're curating music for a gathering, we're thinking about that because desserts are usually served toward the end of the gathering. Okay, we know to change the frequency a little bit here so that this amazing strawberry ganache blah 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 is the effects are really accentuated, and it's enhancing even to the end. The end of it, what do they say is how you start and how you finish.
You
A
can
lot of
always
times
remember the first and the last things that you experience.
that part.
The last is almost more important than even how you began, because that's the thing that resonates the longest after you leave the room. I love this conversation. I feel like this whole episode is brought to you by John Baptiste, because John Baptiste has that song about you can only be who you are. This is just my radio.
Oh, I haven't heard it.
His new album is ridiculous. World Music Radio, I think it's called.
It's so beautiful. But he has a whole thing about how, and my son loves it, about how, we're like all radio frequencies. And so you can only, so I love that, Spirit made you to be so sensitive, to be turned on in certain areas, like a tuning fork. And so you're tuned in to hear certain things. And we're all hearing it, but for you, it shines so much brighter, and that you've leaned into it. So, I mean, it's obvious to see how you've reimagined the entertainment industry just through your vortex of understanding that nothing should not be considered. Everything should be considered in the middle of an event. I remember when I hired you to do my birthday. Well, you things, but I remember my birthday party, and the questions that Keanna asked, I was so shocked by the level of specificity. And it made me really reconsider everyone else I've ever worked with, because usually people are just like, what time? We there. And it's like, she was intentional about like, what's the overarching like idea of the evening, the flow of the evening. When are you speaking? When are you not? Like when people
are coming.
Honey, just so many questions that I didn't even know the answer. I was like, I don't know. That's a good question. And things that I thought wouldn't make a big deal are such huge deals in the moment. And I felt like it set us all up for a great evening. But for me, it was like a dream night for something in my life to like, I turned like my birthday into a bucket list to like perform, like have my own band. And imagine, if y'all have not heard Keanna's voice, well, you are.
Let me tell y'all, for the ones in the back.
But imagine you have somebody like her, and the grace this woman showed me to be like, she basically held back so that way I could still have my own like entry of sorts.
Well, now wait a minute now, because Miss Cassie, you are not shabby by any means, ma'am. You have a beautiful voice. And so real recognize real. And I had to step aside and allow you to have your moment.
But because you knew what kind of songs I was going to sing, she knew what like the right type of music to lead us into the night. So that way I could still have this moment, and then she could still come. I'm like, huh? How'd she know? We're all such different frequencies. And I like feel like she was like this beautiful violin flute playing. And then I got to come on and be like animal with these drums.
I remember, I'll tell you a favorite story I have of you, Keanna. I was at the Hamilton premiere in LA at the Pantages. And after the show, they had an opening night party. And Honey and Vinyl was the entertainment for the night. Did not know, first of all. And walked into the room, and first of all, the space was gorgeous. It was at I think it was at Noy House.
It was.
And
dressed like perfection, I'm sure.
Listen, the space, but literally just coming into the space and hearing her voice, but also how they matched the energy of the room is so much of like a testament of what we've been talking about in your work and how you do things and how you curate the playlists and even what you're singing and how loud you are in the room. Even like we could hear everything you were saying, but people were still able to have conversations. and move through the space and talk to one another. And I just, as a performer, producer of live events and all of those things, seeing it all kind of come together from your brainchild was really remarkable that night.
Thank
So I just
you.
want to shower you
That
with
means
flowers.
a lot coming from you. Thank you very much.
You're
I think
very
I would
welcome.
love to hear you talk about speaking on that is, it's one thing to be an artist. It's another thing to have to, or to accept that you can be this entrepreneur at the same time. Like you have to create this thing. Many people find it so difficult to be a performer and then have to be this business person at the same time. And the artist mind can be so different than the business mind. But for some people, it's the same for them. Like, how did you matriculate going from one extreme to the other? And like you said, like Honey and Vinyl to Sonic Sommelier, you being this artist, you being now this idea in the world of reimagining sound and music. How were you able to do that? Or is there like a moment where you finally were like, and now I must go in this direction?
No, I wish it was that neat and easy. I think that for my life experience has been that I find myself in places that then lead me to other places. So before I actually entered into the world of music, I've been singing my entire life. Like many, I grew up in the church, and gospel music was, very much my start in just having an appreciation for music. But how it was brought to a church gathering, it is just on a whole other level. So that was the inspiration initially. But I went from, as a kid watching, like I said, I wasn't joking when I said behind the music was like, I always loved to watch biopics or do you say biopics? However it's pronounced. I love to read and watch other people's real life experiences. And they always come with challenges, especially people who work in the entertainment industry or are entrepreneurs or creatives. And so between that and spending time at my grandmother's house watching The People's Court and Judge Judy, something clicked. And it was like, okay, well, I love to sing, but I'm not going to be, one of those people that's taken advantage of or doesn't understand what they're signing and how much of themselves or their art that they're signing away. And it's always just fascinating. Law has always fascinated me in general. And when I found out how long you had to go to school to become a lawyer, I said, no, that's not. I did enough schooling. This is where this ends.
I want to be in the real world
I'm
now.
good. Thank you. Sit on school. I like to be on the job. Thanks.
Yes, it is a miracle that I have a graduate degree because did not want to really go beyond a bachelor's, to be completely honest with you.
Same.
But I think that just over time, I found myself in spaces. I ended up, when I moved to New York from Chicago, I worked at a performing arts high school in Harlem. And my position was, I had been a teacher in Chicago, knew that wasn't for me, gave, a good 4 or 5 years to it, and then transitioned into an administrative role in this performing arts high school in Harlem. And my role was to expose the students to the arts as much as possible, either by bringing them to the school through experiences and funding and, performances, whatever it may be, either bringing it to the school or taking them out to these places and immersing them so that they could imagine a life where they could do that. And I ended up auditioning for American Idol during that time. And because I was so inspired by, seeing my kids go out and do their thing, I'm like, am I being a hypocrite that I'm kind of just, sitting behind this desk? And so I auditioned for Idol, made it to the end of Hollywood week for Idol, got back to Harlem and had a meeting with my principal. And I was like, so, hey, since I'm in an admin role, not in the classroom, can we arrange for me to go on auditions, Broadway and film? And I just wanted to do all of the things. And she said, yeah, no. I'm not letting you come back and hide behind this desk. You have so much potential, and I would not be able to face myself in the mirror if I let you come back. And so she fired me, which put me in a really great position to also like collect unemployment and take care of myself. I had to max out my 403b and get support from family members for a while. And somehow found myself into events through someone that I met on American Idol. And that became my world. But it was just, again, the performing side of it. And over time, I realized that the agency that I was working with, I was doing more than performing. I was conceptualizing new ways for like new band ideas. I was doing A&R, and I was doing just artist development, and I was doing marketing. And I looked around and I said, well, I'm kind of doing a lot. Let me go and ask for some equity. I didn't know that that was the word for it at the time. We asked for equity. And of course, this man looked at me like I had 9 heads. Like, how dare you? Although I was the face of the company, I was like literally
the one hustling
so much, way more than I should have at the time. Of course. Mm-hmm. And that's when I decided to go independent. And being independent and being an entrepreneur and running my own company meant that I had to remember watching those Judge Judy episodes and remember how, my 4 mothers and fathers in entertainment had, kind of found themselves in challenging positions, and being very active, being an active performer, an active entrepreneur, an active singer in my experience of being in this business, because it does very much have 2 sides. So I think my upbringing just really, really contributed to me having my sensors up for everything, and knowing, okay, well, I have to hire a lawyer, and I have to vet this lawyer, before I consider them, someone who can represent me. And I have to have friends in the industry who may have more experience than I do, and may know more people than I do in other positions. And, just building community and making decisions that would keep me as far away from what just scared me so much.
I love it. You were basically living your life in some ways like in defense mode, to make sure you had enough supplies, enough, I guess arson, like enough materials to survive what the downfall of this industry is. And I feel like that's so important for new people who enter any industry, but especially the entertainment industry. There's so many ways people can take from you, but you have to be aware what your rights are and what privileges is. And the other thing is, I just love what you said, because everyone who's come on this show, people become entrepreneurs because they realize, if I'm gonna work this hard for someone else, I might as well work this hard for me.
Hello. I want to have autonomy. I want to have agency. I want to have ownership, because that's really what's going to take me far. My IP, my presence, how do I continue to monetize that and be able to see the return in a very direct way? And then I decide, this is the manager that I'm going to have, or this is the booking agent that I'm going to have, and this is the percentage that they will receive. This is what's fair across the board, and those types of things, as opposed to just being infatuated with performing.
Because and I would say we're all guilty of taking jobs that did not compensate us for the artistry that we bring. For the love, because I was excited to do it. I was excited for the opportunity. And now I'm excited to be paid what I'm deserving of. And I set that for me. And it's different. It will look different for everyone, but we do have the opportunity now, and should, as we are reimagining this industry, to just say, guess what? You want to work with me? I love working with you too, but this is how much it's going to cost. And this is the time off that I need to make me feel, like I'm also getting my rest as well. There are cutoff times. You can't just talk to me all the time. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
and I feel like the better you are at negotiating and standing up for yourself, really is what it is. Like, have boundaries. Like, you have to know your high and your low. But the better that you get at that, the easier all your jobs come to you. Because if you're always begging, you can never negotiate. You know,
Yes.
you get so
Yes.
taken advantage of because you've already been taken advantage of by 10 people, which means now you don't have money in the account to even walk away from the deal. If you
Yes.
can't walk away, you can't negotiate. And the way you're able to walk away is if you've been able to negotiate previously.
Yeah.
You know, so I always feel like you have to be able to eat and know that you have fridge in the refrigerator. Otherwise, people will come out and they can sniff desperation and you say yes to anything. And it actually harms the entire industry because they're like, well, we got her for nothing, so we can get you for nothing. And at some point, you got to take a stand and be like, well, then maybe this isn't for me. And people, listen, when you do that, it's very rare people don't find the money because people want what they can't have. It's the opposite than what people think. They're like, oh, they can find someone else. No, they can't.
And especially in this industry now where things are coming like slower, there's a lot less opportunities because they're not making things as quickly or whatever. And now we're like, I gotta take this thing. No, you don't. You really don't. Please wait. Please wait for it to be right. Please do that thing that like really does bring you joy. You know, now I understand there are times where people have to do things. Came out of a pandemic. We did all of those things. We came through a strike. You know, do what you need to do, but also stand up for what's right for you as well, as much as you can.
Speaking of the strike and the pandemic and all these things, do you feel, how has the industry changed since the pandemic strike? Do you feel like people, I mean, from over here, it looks like we are living in the time where people are excited to spend money for experiences. And I feel like, you know, I feel like people would rather spend the money for an experience than even go to the movies at this point because they want to be immersed in things. How has it been for you? Have you been surprised by anything that has shifted in your industry?
Well, that's a really good question. The pandemic was brutal. You know, there was a lot of devastation all around us. And I think that every industry was impacted in some way, most of them negative. That said, because we debuted Sonic Sommelier formally in February of 2020, it's almost as if the idea was right on time because our messaging is that music curation and sound design and being intentional about, you know, what and how you choose to incorporate music into not just your gathering, but your life. The idea that we wanted people to slow down and put forth more intention was exactly the vibe of the pandemic. People had to slow down. People had to become more selective about pretty much everything. What am I putting in my body? So many people decided to go on wellness journeys, you know, during that time. You know, why did I choose to be with this person? Why did I choose this person as my life partner? People started to really think through like life decisions, and it got even more granular. And you know, I think that music and sound are very much they're tied into wellness overall because our nervous systems are impacted each time we hear something that's jarring, even if it's just a lawnmower. The dB level, the volume level of a lawnmower, or living in New York, all of that is doing lots of things to your overall health, your nervous system, your cortisol levels. It's all tied together. And as people became more intentional, our brand voice resonated with them. There's another sound term with frequency resonating, you know, and we were in harmony with how people wanted to begin to gather and how they wanted to experience sound and music. And so when we were allowed to gather again, people were doing so more intimately. They wanted to put, you know, they wanted to connect with us during the planning process more deeply. It just the messaging and our ethos really just aligned with the direction that the world began to go. And so we've been very blessed since then to, you know, curate immersive experiences with Google and with Dior and with what's another amazing one hotel. Like since then, our corporate relationships have really, really been strengthened because I think even in the workplace, people want to be more mindful about the decisions that they make and what they surround themselves with. So we've been very blessed in terms of trends and how people are spending. I think that immediately after the pandemic, everybody was just so excited to get together again. And so there were lots of big budgets and you know, even though the intentionality was there, people wanted to just get back to it. They were very antsy to get back to it. Mm-hmm. And I think now the experiences, although people still want to have them, I think that the economy has lent itself to people being even more mindful about how they spend. If they're going to spend it, then it truly has to be worth their time, their attention, and their hard work, the money that they're putting into it. And so because that's what we're built on, it has worked to our advantage. And we're very, very, very grateful.
I'm so curious. I would love to know, you do a lot in the way of creating these mindful spaces for other people. What do you do? How do you maintain your self-care, your mindfulness as you are putting together a project? And then when you come off of an event, how do you recalibrate and get back into the flow?
I'm still learning how to care better for myself while working and even post work. Mm-hmm. Because the nature of the industry that I'm in, events specific, as soon as you finish a big event and you've shared it on social media, the calls are coming in like right away, sometimes even while you're still in the middle of an event, like if you've posted it to your stories or something. So my refractory period has been interrupted at times, but I've gotten better at one, during the process of planning. Our team has grown a little, and so I'm learning how to delegate and not think that I have to do every single little thing. So delegating is a huge part of my self-care. And then post-event, because we're blessed to travel quite a bit, I will extend that trip in a heartbeat, honey. Like, I might be here extra 3, 5, 6, 7 days. You know what I mean? Because you know we get to travel to some really beautiful places, and we just had something in Sintra, Portugal. I did not even know that Sintra existed. I'd never heard of it.
Gorgeous there, yes.
And so we went from there. We spent more time there, and then went to Lisbon, and I came back so refreshed and so inspired, and you know, that's what I do.
I love what you just said, Portugal.
I'm gonna get your suitcase,
honey. I forgot all about Portugal, and that was on my list.
I forgot about Portugal too.
What was the name of this place?
Sintra. It's about 30 minutes from Lisbon.
Listen, do a few days in both. It's worth it.
Please do. Please do.
And go down to Madeira if you can.
I didn't get to Madeira or Porto. I know.
You just have to go back. It's fine.
I'm going back.
You're going to go back.
It's really hard to do all of it and not wear yourself out. It's like, it's almost hard to be like,
Europeans do summer so well. They do summer so well because they take a month off. Everybody just goes on holiday and they take their time. And because they live in Europe, they just bounce to the different country and bounce back because it's so easy to travel in the country. So
I love that self-care for you is delegation. Yeah. That's not a word that people usually put with self-care.
Yeah, get somebody else to
do it. No.
Distinguish self-care, because usually people think of, a spa as self-care, but honey, delegation is
to take something off your plate, to offload is inherently self-care, and you're absolutely spot on with that.
And I love the idea of, if you do travel a lot, maybe you need to stick around a few days and decompress there instead of just running back on the plane, which is only going to make you get back on another plane, because when you get home, it's time for more work. So
now we're busy again.
Right. I was not born to work. I was not born to work.
Let's just bring that into the space. Let's bring that energy into the space. We were born to have experiences that bring us joy. And if that means that we're doing the thing that we love the most, act, sing, dance, visually create, whatever it is,
Yes.
that becomes life. It becomes breath. And that is the difference.
Breath.
That's the
Yes.
differentiator.
Yes. Yes.
I am not born to work. Hallelujah. Amen.
I mean, I think it's about time to wrap.
I love that this is
Oh
where
my
she
goodness.
It's actually quite impactful.
Yeah, so yes, she did free. You froze for a moment there, Cass.
Honey, this internet is being funny. So we're going to see what happens.
No, it worked. The
God's
timing
like,
worked.
hey, look, okay,
Girl.
we got 3 more minutes, God says, before this internet acts crazy.
Yes, before we do that, if you have 2 to 3.
Wait, before you say that,
Okay.
actually, Stephanie, can you tell us how you first encountered Creatricity and what your experience was when
Yes.
you
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
well, so the way I perceive it, I first encountered Creatricity in my first encounters with you both. Stephanie, I feel was Hamilton the first time we met? Because I feel like we met before then.
We definitely met before then. I think it must have been in New York at a time when I was first dating Cornelius.
Day, but I knew that your presence was just overwhelmingly warm.
Oh.
And you just have this aura of confidence and grace. And we went to breakfast. We went to church and we went to breakfast.
Yes. Was it in LA?
Yes, it was.
Oh, look at y'all not remembering. I love it.
Wow.
I just enjoy being around you. Every word that you say has so much purpose, and it is well thought out. You speak thoughtfully, and that is just so reassuring to be in the presence of someone who thinks before they speak, and there's so much purpose in every word that comes out of your mouth. So that was my first encounter with this half of Creatricity, or 50% of Creatricity. The other half, I met Cassie. I don't remember the year, but I had gone to a friend's home, and she was sitting at their kitchen countertop. And he introduced us, and she said, "Hi, my name is," and all she had to do was open her mouth. And she had this cute little the Halle Berry haircut. And anybody that wears the Halle Berry cut is just period.
Confident, period, already.
One, it takes so much maintenance. Two, you have to have a beautiful face. And 3, you have to be confident, to just chop all your hair off. And she was wearing that cut, honey. So immediately I stand. But then as you spoke, it was warmth. It was sisterhood.
I always remember you singing Happy Birthday, and I'd never met you before.
I did
and I was
sing
like,
Happy Birthday that day.
Are you a singer? Because you should be a singer. And the look on your face was like, as if somebody saw you. And I was like, why is she looking this way? It's so obvious. It was such gold light.
Thank you.
Out.
Yeah.
The feeling was mutual.
I felt the same as well when I met you, Keanna. I was like, who is this girl? She's so amazing. Then I heard you sing and perform and do all this thing, and the multi-hyphenate came forward, and I was like, this is incredible. And then to know that Cassie and I knew each other and we mutually knew each other was just, serendipity.
Yes. So when I think about my first encounter with Creatricity, I think about my first encounter with you lovely ladies. But we had the pleasure of working together last year before.
2 years ago. Mm-hmm.
You had a huge successful panel where you honored Tootie, Kim Fields, and it was at Soho Works. And I didn't have the pleasure of being there because I had extended a work trip.
Come on.
But my team, who I delegated the responsibility to, was there and on task and helped to support all of the energy, beautiful people that you all brought into that space. And it was such an honor to be able to underscore that. So thank you.
But
Yeah,
thank you.
and how you picked the right person
She was
to
incredible.
be.
DJ Bella. She was
DJ
uh,
amazing.
Bella Fox. That's
from
right.
the
She's
way she
incredible.
dressed to the way she spoke, and it felt like it was a part of the vent.
Everybody
Not
left the
even
night like, what was this? This was amazing. Like, yeah,
Thank
totally.
you.
Hmm.
thank
Our
you.
team, we cannot do anything without this incredible team. And I'm always reminding them that they are the lifeblood of the work that we do.
So then, speaking of that, then if you want to ask the next
Yeah,
questions.
I want to know if there are two or three creatives that you're inspired by, or people who are in your world that you would like to shine a light on or pass the mic to.
Yes. So there is a photographer by the name of Amy Anais,
Mm.
and she photographs weddings with an eye that I believe is unparalleled. She is able to capture the essence of women of color, especially. She's an expert at lighting, and we all know how important
Lighting,
lighting is.
lighting.
But a lot of the time, she's photographing brides, and so oftentimes this is like the most important day of their lives, and when I get to see how beautiful she captures them, I'm constantly inspired. But I'm also inspired by the fact that she is an incredible mom,
Mm.
and that she just started another business called Ozai's Home, and she sells homeware, so vases and candles and candlesticks. It's an innovative design where it looks like a glass, but it's multi-purpose in that you can turn it over and put one of those fancy candlesticks in it. You can use it as to hold your pens, but it's very decorative and well designed and high quality. And anytime an entrepreneur, but especially a woman, steps out and does something outside of their box and is doing well at it, I'm inspired. The second
Mm.
person would be Dami Lola. She is an event stationer. That's how she kind of started. However, she is a dynamic illustrator, graphic artist. She does literally everything, anything that you can imagine to be, designed and printed, or she's just an aficionado. And she recently launched a brand, two prong. She has a brand called Just So Dope Kids. She has these beautiful twin boys. They are she and her family are from Nigeria. Her husband is the founder of Post Imperial. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that fashion line, but they're very
Wow.
successful as well. Anyway, she has a brand, Just So Dope Kids, and the brand helps to amplify Black voices, and it celebrates legendary icons that came before us and blazed trails. And she's just incredible. She also has, the other part of that is she's creating greeting cards and stickers that are illustrations of Black women's hairstyles. So braids and all those intricate patterns. She's insanely talented. Please follow Just So Dope Kids. You will find Dami and you will fall in love.
That's
Wow. Thank you
fantastic.
so much for sharing. And we'll grab those handles and share them out with everybody as well. Keanna, thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being with us today. This
It
has
was a
been a
pleasure.
wonderful conversation. Mm,
I mean,
thank
such a
you.
wonderful conversation. And if I'd say the last 30 seconds, the very last question is that we like to ask sometimes people, if you could have an acceptance speech for the life that you have built for yourself right now, and someone was like, here's an award, and this award is to celebrate who you have become and what you have created and the impact you have made in all of these people's lives. Here
Ooh.
is what you say as your acceptance speech. Just 30 seconds.
Woo! This is heavy. I am honored to receive this award. I receive it in the name of um, Linda Pearson, Robert O'Quinn, Carolyn Pearson, Joe Pearson, and Eula O'Quinn. my parents and grandparents who have sacrificed so much to ensure that I can live the life that I live today. Thank you, God, for being the guiding force in my life. And I don't know. I don't know how I would end that. This is a really big question. Probably something I should sit with a little bit longer.
Listen, that's a great way
That's
to end it.
perfect.
You know, I feel like your spirit and even the tune of the sound of your voice,
Mhm.
all it says is love and gratitude. But to
Well,
me, there's
that's it. Love and gratitude. That's how I would end it. Love and
Love and
gratitude.
gratitude.
Thank you, Cassie.
when
Yeah.
you think of your parents and your grandparents, it's like that Maya Angelou quote is that I don't come as one, I come as thousands. And that's you trying
Yes.
to represent the beginning of
You
those
standing
things.
in there. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Keanna, for
Thank
your
you.
time today. You
Yes.
are a treasure to the industry. Thank you for helping to reimagine the industry. And thank you for the gift of just being
Thank you for
yourself.
having me, ladies. What you're doing, what you've created is so dynamic, and I'm so honored to know you.
Thanks, Keanna.
Thank you so much. Okay.